Welcome to Rolling Conversation with yours truly. Today I'm here at my school. I have a special guest, Ryan Aitken, who's been making waves in the no-gi jiu-jitsu scene. I'm gonna be sitting down with him, training a little bit, having a conversation with him. So follow me, let's get inside and see what we got going on. Let's have some fun. In this segment, guys, just as appropriate it is with our name, Rolling Conversations, I'm gonna be attempting to roll with Ryan. I'm gonna flow a little bit. And as we're rolling, I'm gonna be asking Ryan some questions. So I don't think this has ever been done. So this is the first time we're gonna be trying this out. So hopefully you guys will enjoy it. All right. Ryan, how old are you? You gotta think about it.
31.
31. Cats or dogs?
Dogs.
Dogs. Okay. Dog. Pizza or hamburgers?
Pizza. No, hamburgers.
Hamburgers.
I changed my mind.
All right. Gi or no-gi?
No-gi. Not deep half guard.
Chokes or breaks? Chokes or breaks?
Chokes always.
Chokes always with the kill. All right. What else we got, Caleb?
Favorite submission.
Favorite submission?
Pressure.
Pressure.
No, just kidding. Rear naked choke.
Rear naked choke. All right. Favorite tournament?
Favorite tournament, PGF.
PGF. Oh.
Almost had it.
All right.
Hardest fight. Almost had it. Hardest fight. Ooh. Gabriel Almeida was a tough fight. Paul Ardilla was a tough fight. Hardest fight. Damn. Definitely between those.
Cake or ice cream?
Cake or ice cream? Ice cream.
Ice cream.
You got me with that freaking
What was the question?
Georgia or California?
Georgia or California?
Pass.
Pass.
Georgia. California sucks. Everyone's faking California.
Leg lock or upper body submissions? Leg lock or upper body submission?
Leg lock. Kenny. No questions can save you here.
I'm gonna keep asking. I already asked cats or dogs, right? You already said dogs. Summer or winter?
Summer.
America or Brazil?
America. Oh, that's a good one.
Tap or no tap?
Wait, that would be verbal if I say it. Come on.
I almost got it there.
You almost got me.
Go on. Wrestle or guard pull?
Wrestle, baby.
Guard pull. Guard pull for me.
My turn. Cats and dogs.
Oh, dogs for sure.
Red or blue?
Blue.
Single legs or double legs?
Single.
Would you rather study a Brazilian or American?
Study?
Yeah.
I already know American. Brazilian.
Oh!
Who's coming after me? Elio Gracie or Carlos Gracie?
Which one's Carlos Gracie?
The older one.
I get him mixed up with Carlson.
Carlson is the son.
Oh, okay. Well then, Elio Gracie.
Okay. Traditional rear naked choke or palm to palm grip?
I don't know, you guess.
Palm to palm. What's your favorite technique? I want you to show us, or show the viewers your favorite technique.
So I've already been thinking about it, the arm triangle. So the arm triangle is tricky. I've had several people be like, dude, how do you finish the arm triangle? I can't finish the arm triangle. One of the things that you need to understand is that when you're learning how to do a submission, as the guy that's the offensive player, you have to perform maybe like 6 different movements, right? The defensive player only has to defend one of those 6 different movements, right? In the arm triangle, the most popular one is going to be turning away from the arm triangle, and then secondary to that might be like the telephone, right? Okay, but the truth is the telephone with proper, like answering the telephone is not going to defend against a real, like a good arm triangle. What will defend against a good arm triangle is somebody turning away from you, okay? So in order to stop them from turning away from you, you have to pin them correctly. And in order to get the proper choke, you have to actually have the whole shoulder capsule captured, right? So that's the detail a lot of people miss in the arm triangle, is like capturing the shoulder blade. So I'm gonna show you how I do that.
So you want to finish just to finish?
Yeah,
Okay.
So look. So like when I get this arm up, first let's say I like have walked it up here, okay? Once I've walked it up here, this hand is digging super deep, and once I've walked it up here, I can use my head to try to pass it around. Once I get here, my head is dropping and turning to his head. My head has to touch his head, okay? This will prevent the arm flare, or the elbow flare, right? Now the second thing is understanding, this is when he wants to start turning on his side. Yeah, away from me. The dilemma here is he can turn on his side and put me in a position where I'll accept to take the back. But if my shoulder, my chest, center line, stays in front of his shoulder right here, then I am basically prioritizing the pin right here. If my center line passes to the back, I'm prioritizing putting him in a prone position. So to keep him in the supine position, I need to keep my chest in front, okay? Now the biggest detail right here, like I said, is the shoulder blade, all right? My hand has to be lower than I probably expected. It's not gonna be up here on this groove where his shoulder cap is. It has to go down here where it becomes a wedge that helps keep him pinned, okay?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, super tight.
That's so important right here. So if I'm doing this and he starts walking his feet and stuff and it slips, do not gas yourself out trying to finish this. It's not gonna happen. I have to get this low and catch this shoulder blade right here, okay?
Are you just using like just a cupping grip?
No, I'm doing a gable grip.
Oh,
right
okay,
here.
you're doing a gable grip.
Yeah,
Okay.
so this is a supinated hand. Supinated is meant for pulling, okay? Pronated is meant for pushing, okay? So when I pronate, here, okay? Okay, so I pull this down tight, all right? Now, my elbow's gonna stay on the mat. I'm not going to turn this up. My elbow's not coming off the floor. I know it looks like I'm doing more shoulder pressure. I'm not. My elbow stays on the floor. Gable grip stays on the mat right below his shoulder blade, okay? Now I can dismount, because if I stay mount, I can't really drop a lot of weight on this shoulder. When I dismount here, I can really start to drop weight right here on the shoulder. And now, just like I'm on a motorcycle with my pronated hand, that starts to pronate, or it starts to rev the engine, and then I get it.
What was the grip like once you had it?
Yeah, just here, just normal gable grip.
And then you're
right?
finishing.
And then I do this.
Okay. So
That's
okay, like an American. Yeah, okay.
Not all of that's doing it. See how that my elbow lifts? I just do this.
Oh, okay.
I do this. This is what tightens it. This is just like in a triangle choke when you do the curl, right?
Okay, yeah.
It's the same thing here, right? But the really important thing is my elbow stays on the mat and I stay beneath that shoulder blade, okay?
What's your leg position? Are you spread out like this, or?
So I can go into like some of the finer details with like pressure with your leg, right? So when I'm in a pinning hip position, and that means like, I call it transverse pinning hip right now because my spine is in a twist, transverse, and I'm pinning with my hips because I'm on top, right? So this sag is important. If you can afford to be in a position where you don't have to be dynamic, then you can really drop a lot more weight when my foot's flat on the mat, like this, the top of my foot, and I sag right here. So that's the heaviest part of my body is right here, okay? That's the heaviest side. And that would be the side that his shoulder is on that I don't want to lift off the mat, right? So I sag this side, okay? If I have to block, if he's trying to pull his feet in, then yes, I come up onto the ball of my foot and I can start pulling my knee up to frame and build a structure that will block him from pulling his legs back in. But if I can afford it, this is where I'll get the real weight.
Do you do the same thing if they start to defend by
kind of grab your leg, what do you do? Is there something that you do?
Yeah, you can still choke with the leg grab.
I'm sure you can choke me, but
Yeah. So the leg grab's not really the move. What really is the move, the proper defense would actually be a reverse headlock escape. So, and I can show that in a section in a moment. But if you grab your leg here, grab your leg. Oh, you grab your leg? Okay. Yeah. See, I mean, I know I'm going to finish this.
oh yeah, it's still, I feel tighter.
No.
Yeah, it feels super tight.
But the real answer is like if you put me in an arm triangle, the real answer is I have to do a reverse headlock escape, okay? So to do that, if you can find a way to like get it rocking and loose it up, but what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna come here and I'm gonna basically bridge Granby and come out through the back.
Oh, okay.
See what I'm saying?
Oh.
So it's kind of like a lot of like front headlock escapes where it's like you're rotating. There's rotation.
Yeah, using that hip movement to kind of roll over. Oh, okay.
It's a heist, yeah. So it's also operating on the transverse plane. There's twisting. It's rotation.
No, but that detail of like that shoulder blade. As soon as you got that chest in front, got that shoulder blade right there.
Yeah.
Man, it was like
You won't finish it if you just have the shoulder cap. So that's a detail that's helped me a lot with the arm triangle, and I hope it can help you guys too.
Ryan, welcome to the show.
What's up, Kenny? Good to see you again.
Man, we just got done. Well, I just got done seeing you in Vegas for
Yes.
PGF 7.
Yeah.
Wow, PGF 7. If you guys don't know what PGF is, look it up. Professional Grappling Federation, Season 7. It was held in a non-disclosed location in Vegas. It was awesome. It had chandeliers. Well, at least as a viewer, as a fan, it was awesome because we were sitting on those cush couches. We had those nice coconut waters. We had who's who of jiu-jitsu, in attendance. But let's talk about that, man. The PGF, I felt like, man, it was 1 week or 4 days of competing. 5 matches a day? Was it? 3 matches. 3 matches a day. I'm talking about high level 3 matches per day, 4 days. And then on the 5th day was the playoffs.
Yes.
And then the finals.
Yes.
The first day actually was the draft. So it's almost like just basketball, football. I don't watch, conventional sports, but on those sports they have picks. You get to pick the athlete you want.
Your dance partner.
Right. Yeah. And we had what? Pedro Sauer,
Yeah.
Dean Lister,
Yeah.
Roger Gracie, Carlos Machado. Is that it? I think those were the 4 coaches.
Yeah.
Is that right?
It was Carlos. It was hold on. It was Carlos. It was Pedro Sauer. It was
Dean Lister.
Hodger Gracie, and
Gracie
Dean Lister.
and Dean Lister.
So Hodger Gracie, Dean Lister, Pedro Sauer, and Carlos Machado.
Yeah, that was stacked. I mean, just as coaches, and they got to pick. So how much allowance did you guys did they have? Was it $10,000 or I forgot the amount.
They basically did like I think it's like a cap on 10,000, and if you're basically bidding, so they auction off the players just like any other draft in other sports, I believe.
Right. And so what the crazy thing was, supposedly it was auto-generated. All the athletes from first all the way down to the last. The crazy thing is there's 20 athletes, right? 20 athletes, and then there was I think another 10 or whatever alternates. Out of the 20. Ryan has been making a big name for himself in the no-gi competitive side. And I thought, okay, he's going to be the top 5 pick. And I look at the program, he's the last pick, like number 20. Number 1 was Pardia, and then everybody else, and then number 20 was Ryan. I'm like, they said, no, it's just auto-generated. Which I think it kind of worked out in your favor, though.
It wasn't auto-generated. There's no freaking way on the first auto-generation I'm the last pick when I'm also supposed to be the...
Weren't you the number 1 seed?
They're predicting me to be the most expensive.
Right.
And I was saying everything I could to try to like lower that. I was telling them that I wasn't practicing the right overtime escapes. that I was training ADCC rules still, that
a little injured.
that I was injured, that I was sick. And I watched other players try to do the same play too at the auction, and nobody bought it.
Yeah. Well, it worked out because not only did Ryan win the final, make it to the playoffs and win, but in a fashionable way. I mean, I think you had more points than most of the teams did.
Yeah.
The rule set is kind of interesting because joint locks, breaks, or what? How many points were there? Do you remember?
So the points, the way it works is you have 3 ways to get like points, right? You have, and there's also the way of losing a point,
Sure,
I think, right?
sure.
But we're just going to talk about the 3 ways to get the points, right? You have 3 points for a break, 6 points for a kill or
Which is a choke.
strangle, and then you have an extra point. I think it's called an elbow genie point, which is kind of some lore from the last few seasons. But basically,
I didn't know that.
if you score in the first minute,
Okay.
then you get the elbow genie point.
Oh,
You
okay.
know?
So it was all sub only, and you would only win by obviously getting a submission. If you didn't, it was just a draw, and nobody got points for their team or for themselves.
Yeah.
It was very interesting. And at 205 pounds, I know some of the guys weren't as heavy, but man, within the first 2-3 days, there were so many people getting injured. I mean, knees popping, ankles popping. I mean, it was quiet like a golf tournament. We would just sit there, and everybody would just be like, I can't believe that happened.
Yeah.
And then, you got guys that are like, I'm okay. And then you got guys that are getting sent home. The alternates are coming in. They're getting injured. And then they're getting rotated to another team because, man, they didn't have any enough people.
Oh yeah, they were like, they have a joke where by the end of the season from last seasons, they got to start getting the Uber driver to come in and be a placeholder, or they got to order pizza so the pizza guy shows up. They're like, hey bro, $100, you jump on the show, you know?
Just so we can have some alternates.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
It was the craziest thing, but I think unless you've been on that show or as a spectator seen it, you don't know how intense it is. I mean, like for me, I think it's the most intense competition that I've seen because of the duration too. Not only the level, but the duration. Like imagine 3 matches per day at the highest level for 4 days, or 5 days, if you made it to the finals.
Yeah.
And here he is, the champion. It was great witness to be there, to witness his performance, but also everybody else's. I mean, it was a great time. And that, I think PGF is just going to get bigger.
Oh yeah. That's it's like going to war when you're there for a whole freaking week, just in the trenches, bro.
And what the crazy part was,
Yeah.
these guys were all put in a casino right in front of the venue. So every day they would compete, and you would have to walk through the temptation of all the machines, the booze, and whatever else they had. You stayed in an Airbnb though, right?
I stayed in an
That's
Airbnb
smart.
off strip.
Yeah.
Got to look at the beautiful sky every night from my hot tub.
Yeah, see, there you go. I seen guys in there like hobbling to tables like athletes, you know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like, I got my shit broken, so I'm gonna go ahead and gamble my way home now. Yeah, I mean, that was, man, I think I gotta say it was one of the best experiences that I had as a not only as a jiu-jitsu practitioner, not just as a coach, but as a spectator. I had so much fun. And I met so many cool people too. Like I know a lot of the people that were already there, but the coaches and just the staff. Everybody was just on point, and then it was enjoyable. So let's talk about that. 2024 PGF Season 7 205 champion. You also won the what is it? Combat Jiu-Jitsu.
No, so I did combat jiu-jitsu in 2023 in December. So in 2024, I basically started the year off with ADCC trials.
You beat a big name guy.
At ADCC trials.
Not trials at ADCC.
So yes, Pedro Marino I ended up beating at ADCC,
Yeah.
right? Trials was kind of lackluster. I actually lost to Chris Wojcik in the final 8. He understood the ADCC rules better than I did with initiations. So, that was tough fought, but me and Chris would end up, running it back again, and I'm sure that's not the last I'll see of Chris.
That was the finals you had with him at
And
PGF.
PGF, exactly.
That was interesting. That was
Yeah.
man, it was a good match you guys put on. I mean, how many matches did you guys have throughout PGF?
Yeah, so in PGF I had 2 matches with Chris Wojcik. I had him day 1 and the final day. So got to start my week with him and end my week with him.
Yeah, he was a great athlete though, man.
He is, man. Like Chris has been on the circuit for a long time, and he always makes it to the finals because he's such a gamer. He trains with the right people. He's smart. He's very intelligent.
Yeah, I just signed up for his newsletter. He's like a writer. I didn't know that.
Oh, he's a great writer.
Yeah, and so I was like, man, this is interesting hearing his perspective about different things.
Yeah.
And I signed up for his newsletter, and I actually messaged him. I ran into him at the hotel, and I gave him a big. I was like, hey man, you're looking great. He was like, man, thank you so much. And then I actually DM'd him, and I was like, bro, you look so good. And he was like, man, thank you. I was like, I have to learn your the whoosh lock, right?
Yeah.
And he was like, the DVD's coming out, man. I was like, yeah, I'm gonna actually get it. Like he's I liked him more because not only his performance, but he's a smaller guy, but man, his attitude.
Very humble, yeah.
Man, the guy was just like, even in defeat, he was just like.
Oh, because he knows he's going to be right back to the grind,
Yeah.
and he's going to be right back at the next big, tournament. So
Yeah, he was, and I think he understands the rules of each tournament too. I think I read when he one of the newsletters he put out. He was saying that he's now at a point where he's understanding each rule set because it doesn't matter what tournament it is. No matter how good you are, if you don't understand the rule set, if you don't know how to play the game, then you can't really win. You know what I mean?
yeah. And a good example of that was last night at Fight to Win. I noticed that people that were winning matches might have been losing positionally, by a small margin.
Right.
And some even like by a large margin, but because they threw more submission attempts, then they win because that's kind of the fine details.
Yeah, that's the rule of fight to win. You go for submissions.
You fight to win.
Yeah,
right.
You passed my guard 3 times and mounted me, but you know what? I had you in a tight leg lock. I had you in a tight arm lock. Then I'm going to get the win because
Exactly.
it's submission before the position in that organization. So as long as you understand that, you can win. Like again in ADCC, like like. The points are a little bit different, the guard pulling is a little bit different. So there's all these different rule sets that you got to get to know. So I think some people get stuck on one rule set too. And again, I mean, I competed with IBJJF for the longest time, and I don't want to, ever talk bad about any organization, but in the beginning, that's mostly what people had.
Yeah.
Right. And I think I give them credit because of them, because of IBJJF, all the other tournaments started to become bigger, and they started to implement different rule sets and whatnot. But I feel like a lot was taken away because we were only allowed to do certain things. And the classes were almost taught that way, and the techniques were almost taught that way. Like especially no-gi. Like the no reaping, the no heel hooks, the knee bars, and okay, I get it. But a knee bar is like an arm bar. I mean, a blue belt should be.
Well, they got their act together when COVID came around because IBJJF was like, "Oh, just kidding, guys. Please come back. Brown belts and black belts are allowed to heel hook now." Okay.
And how many injuries have there been? I mean, it's just as much as probably before.
Yeah.
Right. Nothing different. Again, if you train for the rule set, you can train not to get hurt. People were getting hurt because they didn't know what the hell they were doing.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, you put a white belt out here, and I armbar him, he doesn't know, it's going to break. He doesn't know how to tap, he doesn't know how to get out, right? But once he gets put into the armbar over and over, he's like, okay, maybe I can turn my arm a little bit, maybe I can turn my shoulder a little bit. And, less injuries. Same thing, you get put in a heel hook. I'm not saying that, you're going to get out every time, but if you're smart enough, you're going to tap.
Yeah.
But you learn, you train by that rule set, right? But I think everybody should be training, be able to compete in whatever. Care what rule set it is. I mean, jiu-jitsu, I said this before, and some people may agree, some people may not, but I'm like, jiu-jitsu is jiu-jitsu. You should be able to adapt.
Yeah, it's a spectrum, right? On one side you have position, and on the other side you have execution, right? And the best players always understand both and can find somewhere in the middle, right? EBI players are going to be on the side of execution, and the IBJJF ADCC guys will be on the side of position, right? And then the finer details between IBJJF and ADCC are more so what happens on the boundary of the mat is favorable with IBJJF. ADCC, they're like, screw it, man. You can go off onto the concrete and bust your head open. We don't care, but we want to see initiations. And the most like simple expression that I can see of that right now is the concept of leg grabs. So in ADCC, it's just can I wrestle better than everybody else? IBJJF, it's can I play the boundaries better than everybody else? And the boundaries, it has, I mean, I could elaborate more on that, but it really just comes down to the yellow lines and what happens on them.
Yeah, I mean, it's, and you can complain about it or just don't compete for that organization. That's it. Sometimes I hear people complaining about it, but it's like, hey, you agreed to a certain rule set. Like, if you look at the rule book, it says da-da-da-da-da-da. Now, some are not very clear, but in general, that's the rule set. You can watch it in football. You can watch it in basketball. Oh, we have 10 seconds left. We're going to foul this guy to kill the time. And so they're like, oh, he's stalling. I'm like, okay, not every match is going to be, obviously, I'm sure they're going to want to finish with a submission or a better position. But listen, if I'm up 2-0, and I know this guy can pass my guard, and I put him in close guard, and I have 10 seconds left, I can be hit with a penalty. I can still win the match. Now, some people want to say, oh, that's not noble. Well, I said yes because I signed up for this rule set. So I'm going to do the rule set. You can boo me all you want. At the end of the day, you know what? My hand is going to get raised, not yours. Right? So all I'm saying is, it's like, man, play by the rules. You know, if you sign up for it, don't complain about it. Now, I'm sure there's going to be some unfair calls. It happens all the time. And it's human error. One good thing about IBJJ, going back to them, is like now they implemented the earpiece system. So coaches can kind of challenge them.
Yeah, but dude, I've seen so many matches where it's like they pause the match and then, or you see the coach like mid-match he's not even paying attention to what's happening right now. He's like trying to pay attention to what's being said in the ear, and I'm like, dude, like.
At least all I'm saying is they're
so
trying,
complex,
but it's hard because sometimes depending on what coach it is, if you have
they could play it. They could play
if Joe Schmo is like, hey, that was a wrong call. This is what happens. You get ignored.
Oh, I see. Yeah.
Who are you? Like, you have an Andre Galvan that says, hey,
exactly.
that's a bad call.
Yes.
All right, let's run it back. You know what I mean? So, again, I mean,
I feel like the only people that get to complain about rule sets would be spectators, right? They're the ones that are paying your bills, and they're also the ones that actually like raise the platform up, right? So the viewers, the spectators, they're the only people that get to critique rule sets. The athletes that are competing in the rule set, bro, they don't get to critique the rule set. They knew it going in,
exactly.
bro.
Exactly. Yeah. That's all I'm saying. If when an athlete starts complaining, I'm like, no. You already knew going in, so shut the hell up. All right, going on. So PGF 7 champion, you won the combat jiu-jitsu in 23.
Yeah, I had a UFC fight pass against Gabriel Almeida.
Just recently, too,
right
after PGF.
Yeah, very tough
won
fight.
That one.
Yeah, Gabriel's a European champion.
What's the rule set on that one?
UFC fight pass is, I'd say it's more wrestle heavy, similar to ADCC.
okay.
But they implement like IBJJF points,
good.
of. I don't know how they feel as stringent on the pinning concept with ADCC. But I think that the big flaw right now, that if I could say it's a flaw, but like as a competitor, if you're not paying attention to how they work penalties, because that's where I say it's a little closer to IBJJF, because once you hit the boundaries and stuff and start going out of bounds, bro, if somebody throws you in a leg attack and you're spinning out of bounds, because they have to reset you in the center, they give a -2 or like at least one negative point to the guy going out of bounds. A good example of this would be Michael Pixley versus Lucas Lira, and they were going out of bounds, and like Pixley was getting hit with negatives, and I don't understand it. I thought it was kind of bogus, but whatever,
I guess that brings me back to the CJI concept of the pit.
Yes.
What do you think about that?
Well, dude, you don't have to have rules with boundaries if it's a damn pit. You know, if we're doing pit fighting, then we get to call ourselves pit fighters. That's cool, bro.
Sure. I see even like smaller tournaments. Like I know American Grappling AGF is implementing the pit. I know some schools that are like building actual like pits, or at least the slopes within their academy to train with. What's your take on that?
That's going to take up more floor space for one.
No, not just for the academies, but like competition in general with the pit.
Competition in general with the pit makes complete sense to me. The cage is cool for the time, but I feel like it's a little outdated now. The cage you can't do like transparent walls because you'll have some dude pressed up against it, fogging up the wall. It just looks nasty. You can't really do cage because the fence looks a little bit outdated now, and people will put their fingers in the fence and stuff and hold you down. But
I'm not a big fan of grappling in the cage.
Maybe it'll come back, but right now the pit looks kind of dope. You just have to have the proper arena for it, which means the ground the ground floor has to be lifted up so everyone elevated can see down into it. You know, so that's the only thing I can think of. And you have to pay for a way nicer camera, I guess, because it has to be able to go up like a boom arm around the whole pit. You know.
But yeah, I saw a Karate Combat live, and they had a couple of jiu-jitsu matches. I thought it was cool. Like watching CJI, it was cool because there's certain things like just talking about. Let's say you have somebody in a heel hook, they want to roll out of it. You're not rolling out.
Yeah.
And there's no like negative points or okay, I'm going to give you 2 points and reset because you're going to keep going. Either you're going to tap or you're going to escape.
Yeah.
So I like that concept of just as far as
dude, and off the wall too,
yeah.
bro. Like you got Craig Jones doing a damn triangle.
Yeah.
You got that other guy. I can't think of his name right now, but he's sort of a solid guy that used to be at Autos. Now I think he's Alliance, but he did like
Philippi Andrew.
No, he did an arm bar. This guy I'm thinking of.
Okay.
He was a PGF veteran actually.
Oh, okay.
He did an arm bar. Felipe Andrew's very good too.
Yeah.
He's Alliance, I believe.
Yeah.
And I mean, dude, he's one of the few guys. If you go back, he has a history for tapping Kine and Duarte, bro. It's insane. Like Felipe.
And the
Andrews
crazy thing was,
has
he actually was a gi. He's always a gi guy.
Yeah.
And he takes the gi off and goes in there.
He does both.
Yeah, and then he goes in there and becomes this. He was in the final, I think, right? Was he in the final?
Made it to the finals versus Nicky Rod. Yeah. He's good.
He's super good.
I don't think he's underrated. I think everyone knows how good he is.
Well, I just didn't know how good his no-gi game was. I know his gi game was good. And I saw his no-gi game, and I'm like, wow, this guy.
Yeah.
It's good. So speaking of gi, no-gi, you started off training gi, you were 14 years old. I mean, we trained
15.
together.
Yeah, I was going on 16. I wish I started younger, man. I wish I
That's what everybody
14,
says. Hey, look, I started at 20, and I'm like, I should have started younger. But we trained briefly for a few years. I mean, we really didn't train a lot because I don't know if you were
called like Tornado, Kenny Kim, or
actually, you know what? I had a bunch of nicknames, and one of them was I was the footlock king because before people were doing ankle locks and heel hooks, and we were doing heel hooks in the gi back then.
Yeah.
It was just the way we trained.
Back in the days, I'm not against it.
No, I mean we did it, and nobody got hurt. It was all right. So, but I was called the footlock king, which is kind of like it's weird now because I stopped doing it for a long time because I was like, I don't know. Nobody does this stuff, and I'm like, I don't feel right doing this.
Who did you study for that? How did you learn that?
I actually did it from Tommy. Tommy
Cho
was tearing me up, and I was like, what is going on? And so I had him show me a few positions, and then I was like, okay. And then I just started doing it, and like the guys I was doing it to was like the bigger guys. Like remember John Harrington?
Yes,
Big John. I mean, he was super good wrestler. I mean, he was good. Anyways, he hated going on me because I'm like, I'll catch him in an ankle, a heel hook all the time. Gi, no gi.
It's the equalizer.
It was. Yeah. And, but once I started with my school and I was teaching, and again, it goes back to like really being heavily into like jiu-jitsu, IBJJF competitions, like kind of like stopped. I was like, well, they don't do this, so I'm not going to do it. And I stopped doing ankle locks. And then I don't know when it was, it just kind of like exploded. And I'm like, oh yeah. And then now I'm like trying to learn more because I know there's so many more setups and so many different ways to finish and how to fish things out, how to escape, Back then it wasn't much. It was like, okay, this is the way you did it. And it kind of worked because nobody knew it.
Yeah.
Now, just like any other technique, there's just so many different ways of applying, defending, setting up. And so I feel great because I feel like I'm a student of the game. I'm always a student of the game, but like in this aspect, like that, you know, whenever I see you, I'm like, hey, what do you do it like that? What do you do? Like even at PGF, I was asking all the guys, I'm like, what would you do here? How do you do this here? How do you do that there? I'm just like picking everybody's brain because I'm like, you know, knowledge is power. Like you want to try to get as much as you can. But yeah, man, that's anyway. Speaking of that, so you started when you were 15, almost 16 years old. You trained, I know, you trained with this primarily in the gi for a few years. And then you trained, you went to Lions, right?
No, I trained at Tiger Academy for like 2 years. I did the whole thing. Like Joe Lozon had a YouTube video of him fighting at school. I did the same shit. It was like I had a YouTube video at the time of me doing like a MMA fight at school versus this kid that it turned out to he was boxing under my later would be my boxing coach. It was just crazy how it's a small world like that. But anyways, so I had all that teenage angst. I watched Never Back Down. I wanted to do oh, great movie. I wanted to do MMA. I thought that was the king, you know. And so I ended up fighting MMA right after I graduated. And in order to fight MMA, you know, a friend of mine told me, hey man, you should probably check out this MMA gym called Striker Fight Center around the corner. And so I went over there because I really wanted to pursue MMA. And there were a bunch of grinders over there, dude.
Sure,
my first day I get over there, Stevie Broman.
Which trained with us initially before.
Yeah, Stevie is like, yeah, man, so let's see where you are at with your hands. And he's like, here's the guy you should go with. And he picks this guy named Smiley Mike. Now, if you don't know who Smiley Mike is, he turned out to be a pro boxer. I didn't know that. So, you know, like, surprise, I'm like getting my ass beat against the wall right here. And like, I'm just crying through my headgear while he's just uppercutting me, bro. And my nose is numb. Like, I'm probably bleeding at that point.
Do I really want to do this?
Yeah. But you know, I was always that kid that was a little like bullied and stuff. You know, I didn't have a big brother to do that to me, but people love to
look at this guy now, like this guy being bullied. Come on.
People love to be jerks to me growing up. So I was used to putting up with that crap, you know? So yeah, basically I just kept coming back and I did MMA for a few years. And then I really lost an MMA fight. I went the distance for this like 5-round title fight against a guy that would later fight for Bellator, but I just realized I was a very one-dimensional fighter in that match, and he exploited that. So I basically realized I don't want to come back to MMA again unless I'm an expert in one area. And being a blue belt or a purple belt in jiu-jitsu that isn't even super competitive is not very, like, that's not an expert in anything. No. So I was like, well, cool, I'll go to Alliance where I know there's all these world champions like Chris Moriarty, Alec Balding, Jeff Cummings, and all these guys that were pushing the brown belt worlds, and with
a lot of local guys too, Americans,
black belt, Americans. You know, I was like, hell yeah, I want to go train with those guys. So I go to Alliance, but when I get there, it's like there's some really good guys for like a year, 2 years, but by the end of like 2 years, people are kind of like starting to call it, man. They don't really want to keep doing this. They got to get real jobs. Chris became a doctor, which is pretty incredible, honestly, to choose to become a doctor while you're like a world champ in the black belt, you know? So like, you know, definitely big names to admire and stuff, and big shoes to fill as well. But I continued to push the scene and try to like do the IBJJF stuff for a few years.
You did well though, right? Even at brown belt, I mean, you were doing...
Locally, I feel like I was the local hero and stuff, but nationally, I just wasn't really getting what I wanted. And I felt like I was starting to see this ceiling for me, and I knew it was like going to be really hard to pass staying in Atlanta. And so what was crazy was when COVID happened, I was like, okay, there's this big thing happening that's telling me I can't just keep like doing the same thing I've been doing. Right. The IBJJF might not even be around with COVID. So I was like, what the hell am I going to do? And I had this parallel I kind of drew with my dad, right? So my dad was a professional canoeer. He was doing the gully race. He was doing all these sick big time races. And the thing was, when he was doing this in the 90s, the canoe might have been the cool thing. But the moment 2000 hit, it's like everybody's switching to the kayak. And he won't do it. He called them butt boaters.
Just like the skaters didn't like the guys on the scooters.
Yeah,
And,
exactly. Same thing. So basically, I looked at that and I was like, you didn't make that switch, and you ended up kind of bailing on canoeing. So I was like, all right, so the gi's my canoe, and no gi's kayaking. So I'm gonna go check out what no gi's like. And the people that I was scared to fight was on the circuit was Chase Hanna and anybody from Sean Applegate.
The 10th Planet Atlanta guys.
Yeah, the 10th Planet Atlanta guys. So, and they had just moved here like 2 years prior to that. So I felt this wave of them coming, and I also felt this dark cloud over my head of, man, I got to make changes, or I'm just going to be this sacrificial goat for other players on the circuit that want to rise to the top of the pyramid, you know? So I was like, I have to make a change. And COVID kind of told me that. It was that slap in the face. It was like, you got to make a change. So I switched over there, and man, like the last 5 years of my life has been like everything.
What was it like when you first, because I mean, you probably trained a little no-gi for MMA and, even at Alliance.
Dude, when I was at Alliance, believe it or not, I was like 3 years strictly in the gi. Like, no gi.
Well, I guess if you're trying to be a gi world champion, you got to
or if you're trying to run your laundry machine out, your washing machine, dude. Yeah,
exactly. So when you first got to 10th Planet, what was it like?
When I first got to 10th Planet, it was kind of like, man, that room is funny because like when you first walk in, you feel like you have to earn everybody's respect. Mm-hmm. But then, like, even when you're performing pretty well, it's like nobody is really going to respect you because they know that you haven't really truly committed to like the style there, right? Once you start committing to the style and displaying it on the professional circuit, that's when everyone's like, he gets it now, he gets it, And so to do that, you have to show some humiliation. You have to be humble. You have to go back to like square one again, become a student again. So it was like hitting a great reset button for me and becoming a great student. And that's hard. That's a hard pill to swallow. A lot of people don't want to swallow that pill. A lot of people, when they come over there, they want to try to show that their style can still hold up. And
so what's the difference in styles that you're talking about? So I obviously, I know 10th Planet has, different language and different style. I mean, only thing that I can really differentiate for me when I watch is like, okay, the flexibility, like the rubber guard, which is very popular from Eddie Bravo, and then maybe heavily on leg locks.
Yeah, so with Sean in particular, okay. He had a little gym called Kazushi Club, and it was 10th Planet Gulf Shores as well, because he got his black belt from Eddie. So the concept of Kazushi is to off balance, right, across all the different planes, mm-hmm. right, and so he basically uses the off balance to enter on somebody. All right, so the easiest way to express this is the saying that's like a falling opponent is not worried about you anymore. They're only worried about the ground and gravity, right? So now that I've brought in this other player and we're teaming up on this person, he's easier to attack, right? The other player being gravity, right? So when I showed up there, the style I realized was that everybody was off balancing me, okay? And so I had to learn how to properly off balance people, use proper structures, learn all the terminology and stuff, and I found myself changing my style a lot. I was so knee slide heavy, headquarters passing heavy from Alliance because of Lucas Lepre's run over there. I learned a little bit about half guard passing, and I would play some deep half and stuff from Leo Noguera. Yeah. But when I got over there, it's like, I realized I was actually a pretty one-dimensional copy player from all these other guys, these other big names. You didn't
really have your
right?
own style.
Exactly. Well, even over there, I still don't really have my own style. It's just what I really didn't have was this fundamental philosophy. like concepts, principles. I didn't understand any of that. And I don't know if it's a language barrier when you're learning from Brazilians or whatnot, but I figured that out over there with Sean, and I started to see that like transfer over to the competition scene too. So yeah, man, like the style. Like the style just, I became somebody that was actually trying to break people and trying to dominate them and win, not just with the position, but with the submission. So it's actually
you
lethal.
have been. That's the thing. Like what you've kind of manifested has been happening. Has been coming true. Like I keep going back to PGF because you had a stellar performance. It was a lot of great submissions, a lot of great entries. And even if it wasn't submissions, it was, positional dominance. And I was watching, I forgot which match it was, just like basic half guard pass. But it was like the basicest half guard pass. You know what I mean? Like you're in half guard, got rid of the knee shield, you were able to get to the neck, and then you were able to get to, chest to chest, pressure, using the outside foot to kill the leg and get to the mount position, and then right there you already had an arm triangle, and that was like repetitive. It wasn't like just once, but it happened over and over. So actually, when I saw that afterwards, when I would train, I would have people put me in half guard just so I can work on it. But it was a fundamental pass. It wasn't like this, oh man, I've never seen that before. It was just like, man, he made it look so easy. And I mean, against the world-class grapplers.
Yeah.
Because I mean, the guy on the bottom knows that, hey, just don't get your neck. I mean, he wants to frame up and he wants to get his guard back.
Well, you have to use dilemmas, though. That's the thing. Against a good person, you have to use a dilemma. Like from a half guard position, it's like, I'm going to push this leg down, and you're going to use your hand to like move down and try to stop me from pushing that leg down. Well, now your hand's not up here to inside bicep timing when I go for your head. Yeah. Right? So that's just an example. Yeah. You have to use dilemmas, distractions, to try to get what you want.
No, but I was so impressed. I mean, that's the thing. Yeah. Again, like, whenever these guys, especially online and whatnot, do these fancy techniques, I'm like, okay, it's cool, but it doesn't impress me. You know what impresses me? Like, basic stuff like that. Like, Carlos Machado. I mean, freaking, 8th degree, red and white belt. I mean, that's the pioneer of jiu-jitsu. Even before the Gracies, actually. I heard the story. It was kind of... Anyways, I'm training. He's like, hey, come here. Do this on me. Do this. I'm like, me? You want me to do this move on you? He's like, yeah, just move around. But what I learned from him was, number one, humility. I mean, this guy was... he could just be sitting on the side and be like, hey, y'all suck. Listen to me. This is the way you're supposed to do it. No, but he was right there. 61 years old. He just actually turned that. 61 that day. And then he was just showing me some basic concepts that he uses. Like, instead of this, do it like this. Instead of this grip, it's that grip. Like, and it was the biggest thing. That impressed me a lot
Machado
more.
family knows their shit, bro.
Man, they were, they were even actually competing with the Gracies, too. Even though they were cousins, they were beating them.
Yeah. I mean, look at Jean-Jacques.
Yeah.
Like,
like, a handicap, and he was still out there doing it.
Yeah.
It's, I was very impressed. So going back, what I'm saying is, like, I'm impressed by the simplicity of these basic techniques. But if a person understands these basics, they can do it. Like a Hadra Gracie. I rolled with Hadra too, and it wasn't a fun day for me. A lot of people will tell you, but it was. He didn't do anything crazy.
Yeah.
Same thing over and over and over. And I said, how often do you train Nogi? He was like, never. It was something like, oh my God, and then you can still go out there and do this. Anyhow, so you've accomplished all these within the last few years. I mean, you've made a name for yourself. I remember, when was this? Remember Eddie's 25th year anniversary? You came. Anyways, we had our first instructor. Well, his first instructor. I've always trained with Eddie. Had a 25-year anniversary at the academy. So we go there, train a little bit afterwards. We go to our buddy's house, Todd, and everybody's having food and drinks. I actually asked you, I said, what are your goals? I remember specifically because I was like, man, you're doing, in my eyes, you were doing pretty good. And we haven't seen each other in a while. So I said, man, what are your goals? Like, what's next for you? And you were like, well, I don't know. Your exact words, if I remember correctly, was, I don't know that I'm at the level for ADCCs. And the way I took it, it was almost like I'm going to probably try it out, but I'm probably gonna, have my own place soon, and then, maybe start teaching. So it's like going into the coaching side of jiu-jitsu. Correct me if I'm wrong.
Yeah, so actually when we had that conversation, I was probably in the headspace of, oh my God, I just turned 30. So that's a big one for sure.
Are you 30? Well, how old are you right now?
I'm freaking 31 now, dude. Like I know that doesn't seem like much to you, but like here, let me put it in this perspective. You know Ryan Haggerty, right? Yeah. Okay. When I was like 23, Ryan Haggerty was like 29, I think. Mm-hmm. I remember watching him. He'd go out there and he had a match with Gabriel Almeida, and it was like back and forth. But then like he barely lost on like a decision to Gabriel Almeida, but he was like threatening him, and he was this big name from Checkmat. Yeah. And Haggerty, I looked up to Haggerty. Kimura, Yep. I looked up to him. I learned my power guillotine from Haggerty, right? He was tough, man. He was my best role in the gym. He was who I wanted to train with every single day because he made me better. And I noticed that Haggerty was going 29 to 30, and he was like starting to call it, man. And I was like, what the hell? So that was what I had to go on. I was now turning 29 to 30, and all my teammates are like 23, and I'm like, well, now I'm in Haggerty's shoes, now I'm the old guy, and so like it's like that's when I was dealing with a freaking midlife crisis at that point,
Not quite midlife, but yes.
Yeah, midlife jiu-jitsu crisis for sure. Mm-hmm. And so like if I was talking about opening up the gym, like that's what I want to do by 35 for sure, So that gives me a few more years. But really I think the biggest thing, and I realized this during the PGF too, is I want to bring some pride to Atlanta.
You said that after you won it on your interview. And we're all very proud. I mean, like me, when I first got out there, there was actually a tweet that I put out, and before this even started, before even the picks, I said Ryan Aitken or Paul Adele, the two guys that I said from Atlanta. I said they're gonna win this.
Yeah,
it was like. My prediction was right.
Yeah.
And I mean, and Paul made it to almost the finals too, or semis.
No, Paul was probably my toughest match there. Right next to Chris.
Yeah, I mean it was. But yeah, I mean, so I remember having that conversation, and then after that, I start to see you out there in the bigger stages, winning and dominating, and then getting all these opportunities. Which, man, I'm proud because again, I've not only seen you in Atlanta, but I feel like when you start first training with people, like they almost like stick to you like family. Especially when I'm like, oh, this little kid, you were a little kid at the time, and
you used to kick my ass, Kenny.
That's not true, but
it is.
I wouldn't even dare roll with him now. I'm like, wow, you want to roll? I'm like, no. Do you think I'm gonna get hurt? No. But no, we're all proud. We're so happy that you're putting. I mean, Atlanta has a lot of talent, but you brought that honor, of representing Atlanta, like as one of the hubs of jiu-jitsu now.
I want any young teenager from Atlanta to think that they can do this too. Okay, it's really important to me because I've seen this doubt, and I've felt it myself. But I've seen this doubt as a kid coming from Atlanta. Like, yes, dude, I grew up in the suburbs, like I came from a middle-class family. And I see this doubt that the older generation in Atlanta kind of puts on a lot of like for themselves, and now it's passed down to the generation beneath them. It's this generational cycle of doubt of whether or not we can do it. Because and I think it stems from the fact that we had a lot of Brazilian world champions come here and coach, and I feel like they run their business and they coach these young, hungry kids and stuff. But really, they will have the Brazilian kid world champion come up here to train, and that's the kid that's supposed to make it. It's not the American kid that's supposed to make it that comes from a middle class family. It's this kid that came all the way from Brazil that's supposed to make it. That's kind of what I've seen, through my eyes over the last generation. And I want to show other American kids that they can make it too, That's what it means to me when I say I want to bring pride back to Atlanta.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I want it to be relatable. I want other people to realize that they can do it. If I was able to do it, you can do it too.
Yeah. I mean, it's a great positive message too. I think jiu-jitsu, yes, but just for any teenager or even kids that are in their 20s, and again, and I agree with you because that's where I am. That's where I've been the past decade. Like, it's not about me anymore. Like, how do I pass down a great message? How do I let these kids be like, hey, I can be like him. Like, I can be successful in life.
Yeah.
I mean, on the mats, obviously, yes.
It's hope.
That's what Matt Made was all about. It's like, hey, like he can look like me. He may not be, as smart as some of these other guys, but he can still do it. Like, whatever your dream is, like, we want to give him that hope of, like, long as you don't give up, you're going to be able to be successful in life.
Resilience.
Yes. Yeah. And it's a perfect example because, like you just said, I mean, at a certain point, you were like, I don't know, I'm turning 30 years old. I may be done. Like, I don't know where I'm going to be. And then the last 2 years, you've hit your peak. Not only PGF or, combat jiu-jitsu, EBI, and then you're at UFC Fight Pass. I mean, 2025 is probably going to be bigger. And that's, I would only imagine it's going to be bigger because of the accolades that you've collected in the last few years. And it's going to get bigger and it's going to get better. Let's go on. Let's see. What time do we have? Okay, perfect. So now let's step away from jiu-jitsu a little bit.
I don't know anything about jiu-jitsu.
You can relate it to jiu-jitsu. It's some current event stuff. You're alive. You have a girlfriend, yeah?
Yes. Best girlfriend.
How long you been with?
In February, it will be 2 years.
2 years. Okay. You guys, do you have plans of getting married or having kids?
She already has a kid.
Okay.
And that child's name is Elodie, and she's a sweet little 4-year-old girl, just turned 4. I get to get a taste of fatherhood every now and then, and the thing is, I'm not ready to be a father, and that's why I feel like I get kind of the best of both worlds right now because I still get to like focus on me and be selfish,
I don't know if that's selfish because for the future, I feel like, and that's the way I was, you need to have all your ducks in a row, whether it's your goals.
I agree.
You need to have done everything and can say, you know what? I've done it. I already tried it or I did it. Now it's the next phase of my life, whether it's marriage, fatherhood, whatever it may be, running a gym. Like, you don't want any regrets to be like, man, what if that one time that I should have, could have, would have. So I don't think you're being selfish, but so it is in your future though.
Absolutely. I mean, I'm so like, I love my dad so much, and I feel like he influenced me a lot and stuff. And I got to do that Christmas thing for Elodie. Mm-hmm. We had Santa growing up and stuff, so that was like a real step up for me when it was like, okay, I got to make this little girl believe that Santa exists. So we got the bike, we got a big stuffed panda for her, and I set it up outside the Christmas tree, and it's like I wrote a little letter for her like it was from Santa, and it was like I looked at my dad that next morning, and he was like, I'm so proud of you. Like, he had a tear come into his eye, and I was like, this is what it's about. Yeah. I want this, I want more of this,
Yeah, and imagine once you accomplish more, that's going to become easier and easier.
Yeah.
All right, so what about Atlanta? I mean, you plan on staying around? You want to move?
Absolutely. If I was going to move from Atlanta, I would have moved by now. I don't know. I mean, I feel like I I can call it a job well done if I can bring all that pride to Atlanta.
Sure.
I can make
You
everyone
have
feel
already,
that
but that's the
they can
thing.
do what I did.
Yeah.
When it comes to opening up a gym, the smart move is to understand, like, okay, is it too saturated here? You know, do I have to move like up to Canton? Do I have to move a little bit farther away from Atlanta, or do I like plant a gym in Buckhead? You know, and challenge all these other guys,
Well,
you know, or
what?
provide a
In
different
that aspect, I mean,
product,
I
you
can
know?
probably answer some of that question for you, because if you really think, there's a lot of big prominent names in Atlanta, right? And even was, especially close to 20 years ago. This year is year 19 of me having a gym, having an academy. So take it back 20 years. How many gyms are around? Not that many. And they were all like, it was Eddie, it was Alliance, it was maybe Paul. It wasn't many, and these were all big guy names. So little old me comes along, who the heck is this guy,
Yeah.
right? And so if you really think about it, you can think it like that. But
You've also been through there's been this population explosion from all these people that are like, dude, we gotta get the hell out of California, bro.
Sure.
And they all moved to the East Coast. So you've felt that love for the last like 20 years, I'm
yeah,
sure.
and but what I'm saying is, like, I don't have the accolades as they did, right?
But you provide a good product.
Sure, and so that's all I'm trying to say. If
Yeah.
Now, running a gym is completely different, because I know some world champions that are about to go out of business. So it's customer service. It's what you can provide for them in an atmosphere where it's fostering growth,
Yeah.
not negativity and toxic, atmosphere where you're like, man, why do I even go here? Because now there's, maybe back in the days, because you only had one source, that was the only place you can go and learn this, jiu-jitsu stuff. But now you can literally just go down the road. There's another jiu-jitsu school, and most of your clientele students are going to be your mom and dads and the kids. They're never going to step a foot in the competition arena.
Yeah.
And so if you're running your class just to be like, man, do this so you can get 2 points. Do this so you can win the championship. Like, you know what? They're probably like, I don't want to be here.
Yeah, I feel that.
Yeah, and so it needs to be where you can cater to everybody.
Yeah.
So again, it's a business, so it needs to be a great business model. Talk to me,
like
because
when it comes to that, it's like I haven't really drawn out what type of like owner I want to be. Like, because on the other side of the spectrum, I see like Pedigo, right? Heath Pedigo, it's like you watch all these videos and he is running a damn like army boot camp in there. And you still get like, your overweight dad showing up and he's going to compete. Like you have to compete still, and like I feel like that's a great message that you send too.
Sure.
But that's definitely not for everybody still.
And it depends on how invested you were. Again, so like me, I was competing a lot. I was heavily traveling all the time. Now I have a little boy. He's 8 years old. I want to spend we were doing open mats every Sunday, open to the community, and that's how we got big. And that kind of opened up. On another note, opened up the jiu-jitsu community in Atlanta because it was so close. Everybody was doing their own thing.
Yeah.
But now, as much as I love being here, I can't be here 24/7. I can't travel with my guys to compete all the time. I can't, sometimes you have to be selfish enough to take care of your family too, because you're not going to be, once they, that old saying, once they grow up, that's it.
Yeah,
time.
so you provide a nice environment for people to practice their jiu-jitsu.
Right.
Yeah.
But now I have different coaches, black belts, that are teaching, so I am not the only person that they have to train with.
Yeah.
Actually, we have other black belts that are probably far better coaches than I am. And I'm okay with that. You know what I mean? Because it's not about me. It's about providing that service for the
That
students.
sounds like a great business for you. It sounds like a great way to own a gym.
Right. I don't want to be the sole guy that people are like, oh, I have to go to Kenny's class. Like, I love it, but I can't be we have 3 6 a.m. and a 7 a.m. class. I don't teach none of those classes. We have different coaches. And some of those students I never even see until belt promotions. And I tell my guys, I'm like, you guys are promoting them. You guys know what they're like. They're here as standards, but you're not me.
Yeah.
I'm the face. That's it. And I don't have to be. And that's the thing. I think some people don't get that. Some people just want to micromanage and be like, oh, I'm I'm the head professor, the master. Like you gotta train with me. I'm like, well,
So if there's like phases to like a martial artist's experience, and from your eyes, like what you've gone through, like what would you say those phases are?
so in the beginning, it's all about learning, I guess, right? You want to be the best technician of what you're trying to get out of jiu-jitsu, whether it's self-defense, you're competing, or whatnot. And then number two, after that, it's about self-development. Okay, I've got the techniques. How do I channel this? Whether it's competitions, okay, I'm going to start teaching seminars, or I'm going to start making a name for myself, whatever that is. And then it goes to coaching, right? Now I'm coaching. Okay, I've done my part. Now I want to coach these guys to be the best they can be. Whether, again, it doesn't matter what they're training for, but just to be the head coach, the person that is the leader for them. I'm at a point now. It's like I'm educated more so than coaching. You know what I mean? I want to be able to educate my coaches, the black belts, the students, like the way things are supposed to be.
Okay, cool.
You know, so I'm at the education level. I actually had this conversation with Carlos Machado. He was saying almost the same thing. Like,
Is he in the same phase, or is there a phase beyond that?
I think there's a phase beyond that.
Is that mastery, or is that a different?
No, I think you go back to being a student.
Oh, okay.
Like
It's a rebirth.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Again, they say in the beginning, a black belt is a white belt that never quit. Like I feel like even technique-wise, I started to learn a lot more at black belt because of my humility, because I let go of all the ego. I mean, we talk about ego. Oh, jiu-jitsu, no. I mean, everybody's got freaking ego. That's the first thing people. And even at black belt, the ego is actually higher. People say, no, there's no black belt. Yeah, there is. There's so much ego. But I think a few years into your black belt, you kind of let go of that. It's like, man, I don't know. Okay, you're better than me, fine. Nobody cares, Nobody cares. Like there was a whole saying, you can become a world champion. You know what happens on Monday? Everybody goes to work, same thing. Everybody goes back on the mat. It's the same thing over. It's not like you're going to be put on a pedestal and be like, this guy is amazing. I'm the best thing that's ever happened. Like, okay, good for you. But you know what? Life goes on. Like, it's fine. So what's a bigger picture? Like, I want to give back. Like, how do I give back? Like this year I was able to, for the first time, I mean, I had this goal for a long time on my planner sheet, is to give back to the community. And I try to do it some way or not. But this year I was able to hook up with a group where I was able to feed like 50, 60 kids Thanksgiving meals. That they have like these moms that live in a motel over here because they can't afford to be in an apartment and whatnot. So I was able to, hire some people, boom, get it. And I took my students, we went over there, 60 meals, we were serving the kids, just giving back to the community. Like now, for me, that's far better feeling than winning a tournament or whatnot. And again, I said it like this, but I did it in a selfish way because it makes me feel good. But it also, it embodies what the message that I'm trying to put out. At a certain point now, we get to a point in life where we want to start planting the seed for the next generation. Like, I want my son to be able to see this. I want the kids, I want the students to see that. Like, I just put a little post out that said, as a black belt, you're just let me see what I put, which, it says, as a jiu-jitsu instructor in black belt, your actions define who you are. Yeah. And so if you're acting you're acting like a dick on the mat, your students see that, and then that's the way they act. Like it trickles down. Like water flows from the top.
Yeah.
And sometimes there's dirty water at the bottom, right? We don't want that to happen. You want to keep that clean water, so it has to stay clean up top, and then in the middle, and then all the way down to the end. And so that's kind of where I am, and I'm just happy to see, the growth, and I'm happy to have you here today because we talked about a lot of your accomplishment. We talked about jiu-jitsu. We talked about the growth. We talked about the community. Man, I think this today's talk was 100% like positive. I think the message goes out there. And speaking of businesses, if you guys are watching this in October of this year, I'm hosting a Mat Made mastermind for jiu-jitsu school owners or guys who want to be school owners. We're going to talk about a lot of stuff, like kind of the stuff that I touched base on today. We're gonna have some big name guys that's gonna be on the panel speaking, so keep an eye on that. And you can, where can people follow you on social media?
You can find me at Ryan Aitken 10P.
We'll put a little caption on the bottom here.
Yeah, so thank you to my sponsor, Assassin Apparel, and they've given me all my rash guards and stuff that I wear on the competition circuit. I've been with them for years, and I took some grapple science before this podcast, and that's probably why I'm not saying so much. So
It's good stuff. I've actually taken it, and it's it was developed, or it was the company's developed by two of the local black belts here too. Maybe I don't know if they have other partners, but I know it's JT and Deuce. So
yeah.
Yeah, Grapple Science guys, Assassin Apparel. You can follow Ryan on his social media. I know he's putting out some video content too, guys. So check it out. He's got some great stuff. I'm always picking his brain and trying to learn. So make sure you guys do that. You can follow me on Ken and Kim BJJ across all platforms. And I appreciate you guys tuning in today. And I can't wait to see you guys next time on Rolling Conversations. Ryan, thanks for coming out.
Thanks, brother.